Former 11-year NBA vet and renowned human rights activist Enes Kanter Freedom blesses the studio to talk about everything from sports activism to his relationship with the Pope before he passed away, and of course his new book, In the Name of Freedom. My man, you've been a busy guy since you've retired. How you feeling time?
Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you know, trying to not gain weight, you know, especially after your career, it's so hard to just eat the same way and not gain weight because you're not, practicing the same way you were practicing before. But I mean, so far I feel great.
Yep. All right. Well, I just had a 2-year-old, so I got a little dad bod
nice.
going on there. But I know exactly
It's
how
not
you
that
feel
easy,
about
man.
not wanting to gain weight, man. I guess let's just go into something recent here. You had a great relationship with the Post. I mean, with the Pope.
Yeah.
Kind of talk about how that started, and what's your initial reaction when you heard that he had passed away.
So throughout my whole life after I actually stepped into America, I opened my eyes to other people.
Okay.
I cared about dialogue a lot, and obviously first time coming here from a foreign country, especially Middle East, things were very, very difficult because back in Turkey, if you are growing up in a country that is being run by a dictator and the dictatorship, and if that dictator wants to be elected again, you do a couple things. You attack America, you attack Christians, and you attack the other side.
Yeah.
I remember, growing up, many of my friends, they were burning American flags.
Wow.
I remember one day I went downstairs to play with my friends, which I'm 9 years old, I'm not even a teenager. They gave me a flag to burn it, an American flag. They gave me a flag, they gave me a lighter, they said burn it. I was like, this is not a right thing to do. I threw the flag down, I ran upstairs to my mom. I was like, Mom, my friends are telling me to hate America, hate Christians, hate Jewish people, what do I do? My mom said, I'm not gonna tell you what to do, but do not hate anyone before you meet them. So that day I gave a promise to my mom. And then came to America as a teenager when I was 17 years old. I started to meet with people, especially my teammates, my college teammates, University of Kentucky, and my high school teammates in California. They knew that my body was poisoned because of what I had been, taught back in the Middle East.
Yep.
But so they were just taking their time. And even if I asked them the most craziest thing, they were just sitting in front of them and they were just trying to explain it to me. And the more and more I learned, I was like, you know what, there are a few religious leaders around the world, like the Dalai Lama, the Pope, and a couple other ones, but I really wanted to meet the Pope and be inspired. Back in 2022, right before the Christmas, I visited him. I joined his audience. That really inspired me.
Yeah.
He was the reason actually I wanted to organize a basketball camp and bring Christians, Muslims, and Jewish kids and put them on the same team. And I'm sure you know, because you're an athlete, that how much the sports bring people together. And I wanted to do it near the Vatican.
Yep.
And then we did that right after I met the Pope. I shook his hand. He told me to get up. And I got up, and he looked up, he started smiling and said, how tall are you? I was like, he actually asked me if I'm 2 meters. I was like, I'm way over 2 meters. But no, he was a symbol of unity, and that's why he inspired me to start organizing these basketball camps to bring kids together so they can learn from each other.
Yeah, which is crazy to me because it's like you grew up practicing Islam and you're a Muslim. Here you are, you befriend the Pope who is a Catholic. You guys come together, and it's just like what you say about sports. Like our locker rooms are a microcosm of life. Like it doesn't matter where you're from, what your political views are, like what your view is on certain things. I know if I got to run pick and roll with you, we're going to do this because it's for the greater good. If I got to run a clear out route in football or take that hit like I don't want to, I'm doing it for the greater good of the team. to go from sports to where it unifies, to cross over into politics where it tends to divide.
Right.
How are you navigating that space, and what compelled you to get into that space?
So it was actually a very interesting and difficult transition, because I pretty much like had to speak up because my family was directly affected by the things that are happening in Turkey. You know, there was a huge corruption scandal that happened in Turkey back in 2013. President Erdogan and some of his family members were involved in it. And that was the first time I came out and said something, because he was putting innocent journalists in jail, and he was shutting down media outlets and whoever talks about this corruption scandal. Because of the NBA platform, it became a conversation in the United States and Turkey, and then that really bothered the Turkish government. So first they fired my dad, and my dad was one of the most successful scientists in Turkey, fired him immediately. My sister went to medical school for 6 years, and she still cannot find a job till this day. I think the saddest one was my little brother, because he wanted to be like his big brother, play basketball in NBA, but because of the same last name, he was just getting kicked out of every team. So they were getting affected so much, they had to put a statement out there. And they said, we are disowning Enes publicly. Actually, the letter is still out there on the internet. And I was playing for Oklahoma City Thunder back then. So the Turkish government didn't believe that. They sent police to my house in Turkey, and they raided the whole house. And they took every electronics away, phones, computers, laptops, iPads, because they wanted to see if I am still in touch with my family or not. They couldn't find no evidence, because I actually wasn't. But they still took my dad in jail for a while. But we put so much pressure from here with media and politicians to Turkey, they had to let him go. And then after that, they revoked my passport. They put my name on Interpol list. And right after I met the Pope back in 2022, literally the next day, they put a bounty on my head. So that's why right now I am only allowed to travel to only 29 countries in the world. Anywhere else, if that country has an extradition deal with Turkey, they send me back to Turkey.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was the reason that I actually started to speak up. And then after that, I was like, you know what, this is a huge platform. Why only just focus on one dictatorship? Might as well just talk about and be the voice of all those innocent people out there who don't have a voice.
Because of everything that you went through and everything that you've had to sacrifice, when you look at American athletes, and sometimes it's certain, not so much platforms, but certain activations or things put out there like My Cleats, My Cause, or just having a football camp. You feel like American athletes need to do more. Is that why you speak out on some of the sports activists out there?
You know, if you're an athlete, I feel like you're an educator, because now with all the social media and smartphones and apps and all that stuff, I mean, all the kids out there are idolizing you, want to be like you, and literally following you religiously. So it is your duty, it is your job to put what's important for the world. So that's why I was like, I'm an athlete and I have a big voice. So I'm just going to go out there and talk about, you know, sometimes when I started to speak up about these issues, many people texted me and said, you know, stay out of politics, focus on your game. But I'm like, this is not politics. I have never in my life ever said, let's vote for this party, let's cheer for this president, let's do this and that. I was like, this is pure human rights. I don't care if you're from the right, from the left, whoever party you cheer for or whoever you're voting for, you have to care about the things that I talk about, because it's human rights, literally. So many people, obviously, some of the things that I talk about is very, in their eyes, is very scary, because I talk about China and I take on the Nike and their hypocrisy and everything. So a lot of people does support me. They just don't want to do it out loud because they have shoe deals, endorsement deals. They want to get another contract.
And they say things like, you know, you say things like, oh, I have a family to feed. If they're getting money there, a lot of people are afraid to speak up because one, obviously you're making money that feeds your family. Two, a lot of people, a lot of athletes, they kind of reject or run away from that public backlash when it came to the whole China situation, and you kind of came out and you had some words and some tweets for LeBron James. Looking back at it, with all that you've done and continue to do, and all that LeBron does with his school and how he helps marginalized communities. You ever feel as though there's a time where you and LeBron may sit down, come together, and whether have a conversation for content or come together and have some sort of initiative or camp or something to kind of show that unity?
So that was actually my goal, because like I said again, he did so much in America. He, like I said again, his school, amazing. I think he inspired me to invest in the youth more, and especially if we want to have a better and brighter future, we have to educate the kids, because those kids are going to be our future one day. That was actually my goal. I wanted to sit down with him and have a conversation, but I have never said I want to educate him, because I know that he knows that his shoes or the jersey that he's wearing or some of the things that he's using is being made by slave kids back in China. So that was. People keep talking about LeBron, but he's not the only one that I called out. I called out so many other athletes or celebrities, I will say, but obviously he's a very important and big figure in America.
About the big name.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but no, I mean, I think that was actually my ultimate goal, not only to just go out there and tweet or talk about it. I want other athletes to join me. When I started to talk about the problems were happening in China, it was the perfect moment, because it was right before the Beijing Olympics, the Winter Olympics. So forget about the NBA. I try to reach out to NFL, MLB, MLS, NHL, WWE. Forget about America. I try to reach out to Olympians. I was like, listen, do not become part of their propaganda. Join me, and we'll talk about the causes that are important to humanity. We'll talk about the Uyghur issues, which is America just put a statement out there and said it's a genocide. We'll talk about Tibetans, it's another cultural genocide. We talk about the Hong Kongers, Taiwanese people. And not only that, like, if you care about other issues, let me know and I will join you as well, Many people said, actually, what you're doing is so amazing, so courageous, but we cannot join you. I was like, why? They said, well, we have shoe deals, endorsement deals, exactly just like you said. We have a family to feed. I asked them one simple question. I was like, put yourself in their shoes. If your mother, if your sister, or if your daughter was in those concentration camps getting tortured and raped every day, would you still pick money and business over your morals, values, principles? They usually turn around and leave the room. So me calling out LeBron or me calling out any athlete, it's not that I'm trying to embarrass them. It's that I want them to join me. And we start creating a big movement, which we call out the hypocrisy of some of these organizations and some of these companies out there. I mean, like Nike. Nike stands with, Black Lives Matter, LGBTQ family. They stand with no Asian hate, Latino community, but everybody knows about the sweatshops back in China. And if players like, say, I don't know, Serena Williams or LeBron James or I don't know, Tom Brady or Ronaldo or whoever signed with Nike start to call out their hypocrisy, I know that they will move out of Xinjiang area, and they will change things.
If we remove the money aspect from it, the monetary aspect from it, do you feel as though your type of activism, what you're trying to take down, could it be as simple as it's too big for these American athletes? Like, if I'm thinking for like let's say it's someone who's speaking up for the black community, police shooting, social injustices. When you're talking about, social injustices in China or what's going on in Ukraine, that could be speaking over a lot of guys and female athletes' heads. So do you feel like you're a little ahead of your time, per se?
Actually, so many people were asking me that question, but I look at it this way. So after I got kicked out of the NBA, we created this bill. I mean, whoever watching is actually can go on Google and search about it. We worked so hard for it. It's called Uyghur Forced Prevention Act. If you're a company and that you have anything to do with the slave labor, you're not allowed to step into America. And that is going to cost some companies billions of dollars. And it's all about your relationship with the people in DC. So I called out many of my senator and congressman friends. I was like, this bill has to pass.
Yep.
And it passed. So I already heard from so many of my Uyghur friends that many companies, many factories started to move out of that Xinjiang area. So it's a huge win for the world, Yep. And this is just me. I know if other athletes started to join me and we start putting pressure on these lawmakers, things will change. We did so much work about Russia-Ukraine conflict too. So it is all about relationship with those some of the lawmakers and make it a trendy, because that's when the lawmakers will go after it and trying to speak up. Speaking up is amazing. Yep. But if you're not taking any kind of action, I feel like it's pointless. Yeah. So the action of it is just sanctions, Magnitsky sanctions, or just putting real pressure on these governments or individuals to free political prisoners, or put pressure on companies to shut down their factory in those areas, so we don't be part of the genocide.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere where it called you like the Colin Kaepernick of the NBA. And do you ever feel as though you'll ever get back into good graces with the NBA and be able to put forth these type of initiatives?
So, the reason I call out NBA is because of, their hypocrisy with China. Yeah. When all the protests were happening in America, NBA was the first organization actually told us during the NBA bubble. I'm sure you watch some of the games. They said, we don't care about basketball. Talk about what's happened in America. So I was actually, as a foreigner, I sit down with people like Jaylen Brown. I sit down with people like Taco Fall, and many like Jason Tatum and Kemba Walker, Marcus Smart, and many of my teammates. They were teaching me. They were like, okay, this is what America's about. This is what's happening. This is what the African-American community had to go through years and years ago. Because growing up as a foreigner, you have no idea. You think America is the most perfect country ever, that they don't do nothing wrong, and everything is so pure and perfect. But once you have a conversation with your teammates, which I call my brother, they teach you. They're like, okay, this is what we've been through. This is what our grandfather or our dad or whoever that we've been through. So that 82 days that I stayed in a bubble, we literally sit down every night with my teammates, and we're just having these uncomfortable conversations. And it was so amazing. But then, literally 2 years later, in 2022, I started to call out the NBA's relationship with China. I was like, if that is a human rights issue, that is another human rights issue, Also, you do a lot of business with that country. China is $6 billion. More people watch NBA games in China than American population last year. So think about the numbers. We're talking about $6 billion.
Money right there.
So after I started to call out the hypocrisy, they shut down. They stopped showing every Celtics game on Chinese television. They cost NBA millions of dollars. So I was actually thought that NBA was going to support me. So I'm mad at the NBA, and I'm not mad at the NBA at the same time, because I'm not mad at the NBA because the reason I am who I am because of the God and NBA. Yeah. NBA gave me my platform and gave me a huge voice. I am mad at the NBA because when the money and business involved, when the things that I talk about start affecting their pocket, they're like, okay, you out of the league. And that broke my heart. I thought Adam Silver is going to have some empathy in his heart, because obviously he's Jewish. Yep. And I'm sure he knows a lot about what happened in the Holocaust. And many people didn't speak up during the Holocaust. And I'm sure so many people are regretting for it. And now there's another genocide happening, maybe not as big as what happened to Jewish people, but we have to speak up. And I thought he would be the first person that said, you know what, we support you, we care about you, and we got your back.
Looking back at it all, was it worth it?
A lot of questions are asked. Actually, so many of my teammates, people, or everyone I know is asking me, was it worth it? Was it worth losing your career, leaving 40, 50 million on a table, and now you can't even travel anywhere outside of America other than 29 countries. Was it worth it? Yes, it was. The reason it was because while people need to understand, while we are comfortably playing basketball and living in this country, on the other side of the world, people are losing their loved ones, losing their lives, and losing their homes. Many of my teammates were asking me this question: was it worth it? I wish I took them in, and we traveled together to some of these countries out there, so they can see with their own eyes. So they can see Iran, so they can see Russia, so they can see North Korea, Turkey, China. So they will see the real dictatorship, It was worth it, but I lost pretty much everything, but you know what, I have no regrets.
When you say like you wish you could take them and show them these communities, these countries that are going through what they're these atrocities, it's like the same thing we black athletes said to people during, the George Floyd case, to where, we wish we could bring you into our communities to see how we are affected, how we are policed, how we're governed and all. So it's kind of, you're saying the same thing, and it kind of just goes back to a lot of people, and not making any excuses or anything for any of these athletes, but it's almost like a lot have the mindset of, I'm going to try and take down the devil I know, instead of going overseas and trying to get into something that I have absolutely zero clue on.
And the beautiful thing is they did bring me to their communities.
Nice.
I did see with my own eyes, because NBA was, when it comes to America, NBA was so amazing. They took us to this, I'm forgetting the name of the museum in Memphis.
Not Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
No, there was a thing that's when I learned that, literally recently, 40, 50 years ago, the African American community has to get on the bus behind the bus.
Oh,
they have to drink water in a different well. They have to sit in
during the Jim Crow era.
Exactly.
Segregation.
They have to sit in a different area in a restaurant. So I'm like, oh my God, like I cannot believe this.
Yeah.
So they taught me a lot. Every time we go to Memphis, or every time we go to some of these like important museums, they took us to, and so they can learn, because they know that we have a huge voice and we can make impact on millions of kids out there. So I'm like, they did bring me in their community, and I was marching with them, during all the things that are happening in America. And I wanted the same support when I started to talk about some of the human rights violations that are happening around the world. Some of these athletes, they're making what? LeBron is a billionaire. Or some of these athletes have like about $400 or $500 million. What else you want? If you stand up for the innocent people around the world and you have enough big voice, things will change, But like I said again, I never say I want to educate them, because I already know that they know this situation. But just have some empathy.
One step at a time.
Yep.
Man, let's lighten this thing up a little bit before we go and we talk about your book. You spent some time with the Knicks. They're in the playoffs right now. You've been keeping up with Jalen Brunson and gang. What do you think about the Knicks?
I think they're just one piece away from a championship. They
just traded away all the draft capital for Karl Anthony Towns and Mikal Bridges.
I do think they need a true big man. I do definitely think they need a true
big man.
He's not. He's not. I think he's a really good four-man. He can play 3-4 up, more four, obviously. He can shoot. He can do a lot of things, but he's not a type of person that can guard true big mans on a block. Think about if they play, I don't know, like a final against the Denver Nuggets. Or I'm trying to think.
He's got to play Jokic, or like who's some like super strong. What you're saying is like an old school
Embiid.
Five,
I'm talking about like Embiid, or
you would have to put Mitchell
Jokic.
Robinson on him because Cat doesn't go down.
So, but no, they have an amazing team, man. A lot of people are criticizing the ownership a lot, but I think the owner is not going out there and playing basketball with y'all. I think the New York fans or whoever. they need to stop criticizing the ownership, and they need to just focus on their team, because the owner is not going out there. Jim Dolan is not going out there and starting pick for y'all.
No,
you know.
No. Signs a check.
Exactly. He signs a check and he comes to games, watch the games, and leaves the game. Yeah. So I think it's. I mean, you have the biggest market, the best arena, the best fan, one of the best fans. So I mean, you have no excuse, man. You just have to just get it right somehow. But yeah.
You have any crazy moments as a Knick, both good and bad?
Oh God.
Because this fan base, like you said, this fan base can let the players, the coaches, everybody have it.
So, I mean, everybody knows about me get on the floor and kissing the Knicks logo. After the Knicks told me, I don't want to blame the Knicks. I blame the Fizdale. He literally called me one day in his room and said, "Listen, man, this is what happens when you're a good player playing in a bad team. From now on, we're gonna sit you." I was like, "What do you mean?" They said, "Well, you know, we have the Zion pick is coming up, and you gotta sit from now on. And, you know, we have to lose some games to get a better draft pick." And I'm like, this dude is literally telling me that they're gonna lose on purpose
to tank.
I'm like, I cannot believe it. So I said, 8 games, didn't play a second, which I was starting every game before that. I was averaging double, and that was my contract year. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna be outspoken about it, because I'm not getting paid to lose games. So I went to New York media, which, you know, they're ready to destroy the Knicks. I was like, listen, they're telling me to tank. They're telling me they're gonna tank. They're telling me we're gonna lose and they're gonna sit me. That became a huge viral conversation, and Scott Berry called me in his room and said, "You cannot do it. You have a contract here coming up, and we're gonna look into that. And now you're calling us out in front of everybody. That now the media is destroying us." But I was like, you know what? This is who I am. I'm not. These fans are not here to pay money and watch their team getting beat by like nobody. You know. But no, I was very shocked. And you know what? The thing is, karma. They couldn't even get the Zion pick.
They didn't get Zion.
Nope, they didn't get the Zion pick.
Get Zion, right? Man, well, we know whose ticket won't work when he tries to scan it at the Garden.
Exactly.
In the name of freedom, talk to me.
So a lot of things that we talk about, I wanted to put all my thoughts in a book and put it out there. It talks about literally all the human rights violations that are happening around the world, and what can we do to fight against these dictatorships. Because many people are asking me, I'm not an NBA player, I don't have millions of followers, what do I do? What can I do to help people around the world? I put everything in that book, my autobiography, and I am exposing a lot of companies and organizations in that book too, because Chinese government has been trying to invade America from the inside by, you know, taking over Wall Street, academias, big tech, Hollywood, sports world. So that book is going to bring a lot of noise, and because it is going to expose a lot, I will say. But at the same time, it talks about coexisting, uniting people. It doesn't matter what your background, your skin color, your religion. I think the most important thing in life is leave your differences on the table and trying to find what we have in common, because we only have one world to live, so we need to make this world better together. So the name of it is so beautiful, In the Name of Freedom, because I became a U.S. citizen 4 years ago, and I changed my last name to Freedom. So it's going to bring a lot of noise for sure.
Do you fear for your life?
So I mean, I have a bounty on my head. It's not really.
Never met anyone say that and casually laugh while saying
No, I mean, you have to laugh, because to all the dictators out there, man, you know, you have to laugh. Because the work that you do is sometimes it can get so crazy. You just have to learn how to laugh through it. I tried to get a life insurance after they put a bounty on my head, and that the company did a little research, and they got back to me and said, listen, man, you know, we cannot give you a full coverage because you have a very high percent of chance of getting killed. So we can only give you a half coverage. I was like, I cannot believe this company is literally telling me I might die soon just because of,
Wow.
you know, and they don't want to give me a full coverage. But no, man, I mean, the reason I wanted to become a US citizen is because I wanted to travel the whole world. And now, like, when I have a conversation with FBI or someone, they give me a list and they said you can only now travel to 29 countries in the world. And not only that, like, even in America, I had a conversation with the State Department. And I walk into the meeting, they have this whole list of countries that is, like, have a big potential that can hurt me in a way. They said number one is China. It was the most interesting meeting that I had with the government. They said the number one was China. They said, you're a single guy. From now on, going forward, you're going to be getting text messages, phone calls, DMs, WhatsApp messages from one of the most beautiful girls in the world. Do not answer any of them. They're all Chinese spies. Wow. I was like, holy, what?
That's wild.
Second one was Russia. They said Russia, not in America, but outside of America, they will follow you and they will try to poison you. They said Iran. They said they don't mess around with the woman or the poison thing. They will literally come and shoot you. North Korea, they said they will hack your phone and try to take out all the money you have in the bank. So they were just like, it was the list of all the dictatorships and which strategy that they can use to get me. And they were the State Department was literally telling me, okay, make sure, don't answer this, don't do this, don't do that. So I know the life became actually very difficult after I started to speak up about not only Turkey but pretty much every dictatorship. But I think it's worth it when you see that you're changing lives and touching hearts. So
that's deep right there, man. I appreciate you coming in, blessing the studios. I respect what you do, your sports activism. Make sure you guys go out and get his book, In the Name of Freedom. Thanks, Enes, for coming in.
Thank you, my man. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you.